Retroactive continuity is quite common in television shows, comic books, movies, and so on. However, having retcons in video games causes certain communities to be frustrated and even confused about the setting within a franchise. While the writing and plot within Thedas are the highlights of the Dragon Age franchise, retcons within the game are more common than we realized. So here are 5 retcon moments from the Dragon Age franchise. Aesthetic elements. Many fans who played Origins and began as a mage will recognize the infamous sloth and desire demons throughout the games. But when Dragon Age Inquisition was released, fans discovered that the infamous enemies from the previous Dragon Age games were not even present in this current game. They seem to only appear in a banter with Dorian mentioning a desire demon he met in the Fade. While the roster of demons was expanded in Inquisition because of the Breach, some fans suggested that the absence of those renowned demons did imply that they were no longer in the present world. Or, to put it in another way, they weren't featured for one reason or another. However, there is a desire demon in Inquisition consequentially, and for some reason it does not take the form it did in Origins or Dragon Age 2. That desire demon is what we know as Imshale, who is actually one of the Forbidden Ones according to the Dragon Age lore, and he constantly referred to himself in the game and in the book Mask Empire as a choice spirit.
Alpha. Choice spirit.
And while it is thought that this desire demon, Imshale, is just that, the problem is that the design for the desire demons was well known in the franchise, well, as a result of... yeah, you get the idea. And sadly, my favorite demon, the Sloth, does not even appear in Inquisition at all. The Darkspawn, particularly the Genlocks, Herlocks, and Ogres, have been known to be redesigned as well. The Kossith, or the Qunari, was another aesthetic shift. I will add that I prefer the look of the Qunari in the sequel to the first, however it is strange to learn that the bulk of Qunari indeed have horns when Sten has none. And according to the most current concept art visuals, the Qunari's horns will probably appear in Dragon Age Dreadwolf as well. Finally, the Valisline differences for elves in the previous games, Dragon Age 2 and Origins to Inquisition, are different. Many fans were again perplexed because they had appreciated the prior Valisline, and it just appears that BioWare was retiring that type of design in the future games. And while some people regard these types of visual alterations to be just simply changes, other fans consider them to be retcons, hence why they are included in this list. Anders. To be clear, a retcon can be very sneaky in its explanation. In the case of BioWare, the retcons we received were just simply that, as if to say that everything we saw was an illusion and it never happened, the illusion of choice. And BioWare made this certain decision with Anders. The Anders death epilogue in Awakening, on the other hand, is devoid of any foreshadowing, leading us to believe they didn't plan on Anders even returning to Dragon Age 2 at all. To be honest, many fans like the idea of Anders returning, many just wish they had foresight to plan ahead rather than just improvising a plot on the fly. But many liked where the writers took him, and it felt like a natural progression for him and epitomized the central conflict for Dragon Age 2 with the Mage-Templar War. Of course, fans began to explain on forums that Anders was clearly added to Dragon Age 2, with some even claiming that his writing and theme was very different from Awakening to the progression in 2, and even included some major plot holes. In Awakening, the Warden Commander isn't even required to enlist Anders. You have the option of handing over Anders to the Commander Rylock, leaving aside the fact that the writers made it, yet again, another plot hole. This also didn't make any sense for some players that Anders was a Grey Warden in Dragon Age 2 because he never even became one from their Awakening world state. It is also noted that Anders' timelines from Dragon Age Origins to Awakening and to Dragon Age 2 are, as it turns out, intertwined. The Warden Commander can conscript Anders half a year after the Blight, yet Hawke meets Anders in Kirkwall less than a year later. The only problem is that Anders can only join in the middle to late of 931 Dragon, causing a temporal paradox within the timeline between Awakening, or something of that nature. It's pretty confusing to say the least, but as I have stated in my previous videos, that Awakening was really created as a result of the developers debating on whether they should have any more Dragon Age games. Dwarves. Now, I know many may disagree with this, however, this is added to the list since the Dwarven race has been strangely altering within each game, so bear with me, for this race will almost certainly be retconned in Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Magic is one of the primary components. We've known from Sandal to the Descent DLC that dwarves can have magical components and even dreams. We just weren't sure where it came from until the discovery of Titans. The issue with these previous games is that the BioWare writers can be somewhat dwarfist at times. And, correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like dwarves have been pushed deeper into the background compared to other non-humans since Origins, at least until the Descent DLC. The Tevinter Knight's Dreadwolf Take You short story explained that Fen'Harel killed dwarves through their dreams, which suggests that dwarves are being retconned in dreaming or whatever of that nature. Or there's just a whole other side to Fen'Harel's power that we haven't even uncovered yet. Then there's the romantic aspect. When a fan pointed out to the former main writer David Gator, he was grossed out by the dwarven romance or even the idea itself, and majority of the fans misread what he meant. The fundamental issue is that many people who wanted a dwarven relationship or romance are interested only in the sexual component of it or even to fetishes. This was the major reason why many BioWare writers avoided dwarven romances at all in Dragon Age and even Baldur's Gate. He claims, to a dwarven female or a female Qunari romance, I'll simply say that if your expectation is that we developers should be thrilled to become your virtual pimps, that is simply not the case. So while Gator is no longer a member of the team of BioWare, if the BioWare team does decide to sexualize dwarves, they've actually already done it with Varric from the Silent Grove comic. It's also not surprising to hear Varric also narrate the upcoming game's teaser, so many fans are assuming he could be a romantic interest in the next Dragon Age game, Dragon Age Dreadwolf. Finally, dwarven romance are now being altered and even adapted, which could be a retcon in itself. Leliana. Leliana has 3 appearances in the entire franchise so far. However, what was the need to retcon Leliana's death? So let's think upon this. Why did they bring Leliana back? Retcons are of course huge, and Leliana coming back to life stands out so much in the game. Even fans were taken aback by her presence in Dragon Age 2, owing to the fact that it was brief and very unexpected. You can even inquire, as the Herald, how she survived if you murdered her in Origins. Some speculate that she could have been utilizing Andraste's ashes to heal herself. However, there are some issues within this scenario. To begin with, you don't even need to kill her near the Urn of Andraste, and if she isn't in your party, Leliana will eventually find out and you'll have to kill her back in the camp unless you made a very precise set of story and conversation decisions. Gator also addressed this in the old BioWare forums many years ago when someone asked why Leliana was even brought back to life. Gator states, if we wish to bring someone back to life, it's because we wanted to. We're not saying what happened in that chamber ever occurred, but if you're insisting that I think X is dead so I should never see them again no matter what, well, prepare to be disappointed. So whether you had Anders, Leliana, Flemeth, Morgan, or any other character from Inquisition who probably died, you might expect to see the unexpected in the next upcoming Dragon Age games. Lyrium and the Red Lyrium Idol. The retcon of Templars needing to consume Lyrium to power their abilities has somehow changed within the writing of Dragon Age. In Origins, Alistair says that Lyrium isn't actually required to power their talents as a Templar, rather that it makes them more potent and effective. It was basically a control strategy given to them by the Chantry to make Templars addicted and to stay within the Order. However, in the comic Those Who Speak, Alistair mentions needing to get back to practice, which is a euphemism for using Lyrium while training to be a Templar. Inquisition also states that ingesting Lyrium was required to use any Templar ability. This also implies that Hawks and the Hero Ferelden's Templar powers have now been retconned since they were not required to use Lyrium at all. However, the most recent retcon in Dragon Age lore is the return of the Red Lyrium idol. Most people, including myself, believed that the Red Lyrium idol was forged into Meredith's gigantic sword. So when Meredith went insane with power and nearly destroyed all of Kirkwall, her blade exploded, taking the idol with it. At least, that's what we assumed. But this isn't the case. According to Tevinter Knight's short story, the sword was converted back into the idol and absorbed into Meredith's breast. And as intriguing as this sounds, it seems that the idol is merely a prop for the next game, including the Dreadwolf requiring it in the prior comics, such as Knight Errant and even Blue Wraith. On the other hand, because the sword Certainty was resurfaced in Inquisition, there is a significant amount of confusion in the community because of it. And according to the description of this greatsword, it is inspired and reforged in the name of Corypheus before being passed to his lieutenant Samson. So why was this blade given new life in Inquisition? The Dragon Age comic writer Nunzio stated that the original plan for the comics would have had the characters retrieve the Red Lyrium idol either way, only to have Fen-Harel take it back. So as far as I know, the Red Lyrium idol's appearance was just planned to remain in Dragon Age 2. But now it has a build-up to its return in Dragon Age Dreadwolf, and that could be another retcon once again. But with that, we are going to wrap up 5 retcon moments in the Dragon Age franchise. And what would you like to see BioWare do in the future? Keep their choices, or maybe surprise us? I want to see some discussions in that comment section down below. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video.